What is this stronghold? What am I running into? I'm dead. I'm literally dead. What the? A little over 2 years ago, I gave myself a goal to become a Minecraft speedrunner. And really, that goal is sort of up for interpretation because, I mean, I could just beat the game in one sitting, submit the time, and be an official Minecraft speedrunner. But what kind of goal is that? I wanted something that I would actually have to push myself to do. 30 minutes. I wanted to beat a new random seed of Minecraft in 30 minutes, which at the time would have put me in the top 300 on speedrun.com. It was definitely a stretch, but feasible. The only problem was, I was starting with no experience. I don't even know what the best strats are for a speedrun. Well, I mean, get wood, obviously. I mean, that's a pretty good start, right? What do you need to make out of wood? Just a pickaxe, eh? That was a mistake. How much stone do I need? Probably just the axe, right? The pickaxe. I probably should have made an axe. Yep. Yeah, I should have made an axe. You know what, it just hit me. I probably should have got a timer. So I knew I had a lot of work in front of me, but I could never have guessed how much I would have to learn along the way to pull it off. And today, I'm gonna take you through all of it. I'll show you what it's like to go from the casual Minecraft player to the sub 30 Minecraft speedrunner. Now honestly, I didn't know where to start a project this big. I'd at least beaten the game a few times prior to this, but I had always done it the traditional way. New world, let's go. My tools, let's go. Iron, diamonds, obsidian, nether portal, fortress, let's go. Blaze rod, enderman, eyes, stronghold, portal room, easy dragon kill. Yeah, you get the point. But it would usually take me a couple of weeks to get around all of this. I didn't know how to actually speedrun it. So I did what any reasonable person trying to learn something new would do. I looked it up on YouTube. And man, what an interesting time to try to learn about speedrunning. In the October-November area of 2020, if you were to look up Minecraft speedrun, you know what would be the first result?
Give me one more trade.
If it's confirmed Dream cheated, I wouldn't be surprised if the community tried to
buy him an ice cream.
And I really want to see Dream's real response where he doesn't just say clout chasing.
After extensive research into the mod's math and the logic and reasoning behind this math, the expert found that the math was off.
Dream did admit that the drop rates of important items had been artificially increased, but now claims that it was an accident.
Let's go!
Yeah, my first exposure to speedrunning was the Dream scandal. At the time, nobody knew for sure that this was Dream's cheated run. All I saw was a well-known player getting a good time with pretty simple strategies. This part right here blew my mind. I thought that getting ender pearls would have been the slowest part of any run, but this just turned it into one of the fastest. Mine gold, give it to piglins, and stand around until they give you the trades. That's amazing. This video is also where I learned that you can enter the nether with just a bucket and flint and steel, and kill the ender dragons just with beds. But I'll worry about that strategy later. For now, I figured I had enough information to begin the first phase of my training, the basics. Starting out, I needed practice in all three sections of the game, and the reality is, loading up random seeds is not the best way to improve all around. That'd be like trying to learn to read and write if you had to change languages every day. You need to have some things be constant. For me to practice all three sections of the run equally, I had to remove most of the variables. Change from loading random seeds to a set seed. And on my first day, I found a seed that loosely replicates what Dream had on his. It had a way to get iron and get to the nether, it had piglins and a fortress, and then it obviously had a stronghold and an end. And on my first crack at it, I managed to get to the end in a little over an hour before botching the run. But I knew already, this was the one to train on. Oh, I died. I'm gonna restart the seed. You win this time, dragon. Thank goodness, dude. We actually pulled it off. 113. Now I finally had a baseline set, and I just needed to work towards improving it. Over the next few weeks, I kept playing this seed, and while a lot of time was saved from just memorizing the locations of important things like buried treasure and ruined portals, I was also improving my basic Minecraft skills, like my portal building, crafting, and movement. And after just a bit of work, I dropped my time down to an hour, to 46 minutes, to 40 minutes, and then to 35 minutes, cutting my baseline by over half.
Oh my god, I nailed it. I beat it by 5 minutes. Oh my god, dude. And when I learned to one cycle the dragon, I could have had that in almost 30 minutes.
And it seems like I knew exactly what to work on next. One cycling, the strategy of killing the Ender Dragon with beds on its first perch cycle. Up until now, I had been killing the Ender Dragon the usual way, taking down the end crystals and hitting it every perch it comes in for. Fighting it this way can take 5, 10, 15, or even 20 minutes if I play it really poorly. But learning to one cycle can cut that down to about 2 to 4 minutes depending on how soon the dragon perches. But it's a hard thing to learn at first. Basically, the way it works is you have to find a way to place beds on top of the fountain the dragon perches on. Then when she comes in to do these back and forth motions before her perch, you need to wait until she's low enough for you to blow up the bed right next to her head to deal maximum damage. And it's tough because timing is everything. You need to trigger the explosions at the right time on her descension and the right time of her head swing. But turning on hitboxes can help you see what you're doing a lot easier though. So, I started off trying it in a creative world where I could give myself unlimited beds and keep respawning the Ender Dragon. And I wasn't great at it.
It was bad.
Luckily though, there's an end practice map that's been made since then that makes the whole process a lot quicker. And it gives you some useful data to tell you what you're doing wrong. I'll link that in the description if you want to check it out. But once I thought I had it down enough in my creative world, I went to try it on my set seed to see if I could bring my time down anymore. But sadly, I never made it to the end fast enough. And even if I did, I just couldn't quite hold the run together.
No! Oh my god, I can't believe I messed that up. Oh, all that work, dude, and I misclicked the freaking bed.
It was incredibly frustrating, and after so many failed attempts on a set seed, I already wanted to throw in the towel on my random seed goal, until something new was discovered that inspired me to try again.
This is a video about the hypermodern route, which is the primary route in Minecraft speedrunning nowadays. First off, for some context, we used to reset primarily for villagers, mine small amounts of gold in the nether, and then travel on foot to the stronghold, whereas the hypermodern route complicates just about everything.
Hypermodern speedrunning is a loaded concept to unpack. Like K4 explains, when 1.16 came out, speedruns were all generally completed in the same order. But over the time that I spent practicing that order on my set seed, loads and loads of new strategies were developed that all culminated in what is considered the hypermodern category. There were now multiple ways to complete each phase of the run. Different ways to get iron and food, different ways to get gold and enter the nether, and different ways to get your piglin trades done. There's honestly so many strategies here that I'm not going to cover them all right now. We'll cover the ones that I actually use when we get there in my upcoming runs. The Minecraft speedrun, which at one time used to be a linear process, was now opened up to be a flowchart with many routes to take to the end. And the endless possibilities, the unpredictability, it added so much replayability to the game. Every run was an adventure, and I was excited to keep playing. But with so many possible ways to beat the game, I couldn't learn them all on one seed. I had to start practicing my first random seed runs. And this was a very slow process for me. For starters, I didn't have the most time to play. Maybe a couple hours a week at most I'd be putting into practicing, which obviously isn't the best when you're trying to get good at something. And second, I just couldn't seem to roll a seed that I liked. I didn't want my first PB to simply be on the first world I loaded up. I wanted to set a time that I'd actually have to work to beat. So I started many runs and completed none of them. For 7 months, actually. 7 months of me loading up a world, playing through sometimes as far as finding the fortress and then just being like, nah, I don't really like this one. But hey, you gotta set standards, I guess. But it's okay that it was taking me this long, because over this period of incomplete runs, I was also spending a lot of time studying. I'd keep tabs on the world record progress and started watching a lot of the top runners' streams, and through that, I was seeing a lot of the hyper-modern strategies actually getting used in real situations that I'd later incorporate into my own attempted runs. And really, I think this is the best thing you can do if you're trying to learn to speedrun. Just watch streams of world record holders. It definitely paid off for me, because 7 months into the project, I finally got a seed and a pace that I liked. The run started like any regular Minecraft world could with a coastal spawn. I made a boat and searched around for shipwrecks that gave me all of my iron and food to get by for a while. But this became a run I wanted to complete when I found this ocean monument. Why is that? Ocean monuments have always been a late game thing for me. I've used them before to make guardian farms, but a few days before this, I learned from watching Coryway that these are extremely helpful in speedruns. Because if you play your cards right and move quickly, you can break in and mine 8 blocks of gold without even getting mining fatigue. And that's what I managed to do here for the first time ever, actually. However, the Guardians saw what I just did, and they weren't happy about it. As I boated away with all of their gold in my pocket, they were out to get revenge later in the run. At this point, instead of heading to land to look for a lava pool, I stayed in the ocean and looted a few more ships before finding a place to make another portal. The Ocean Ravine. In 2 letter names 12-minute world record, I learned that there's actually lava underneath these that you can use to make a portal. Here's how the professional does it. And here's how I did it. If you can say that I actually did it. Well, that's a couple minutes I won't get back. But on to the nether, I guess. I didn't know where to run, so I kind of just picked a random direction. I came across the fortress, but the problem was, it was a Soul Sand Valley fortress. I don't mess with those without fire res. Those never went well for me. I needed to trade gold first, and luckily I found a bastion right next to it where I got all my potions and pearls from piglins. Once I had that, I was ready for the fortress, which actually turned out to not be in the Soul Sand Valley after all. So I easily got my blaze rods and left, but I didn't go back to my nether portal. I had learned from Coryway's 1436 world record that if you get 10 or more obsidian from piglin trades, you build a new nether portal away from spawn. Generally, coordinates of 150, 150, positive or negative is what I heard to be a good place to exit. And after finding those coordinates, I exited the nether at 31 minutes, ready to beat the game. But 10 minutes later, after finding my stronghold, on land I should add, the Guardians somehow came back to get me. I still managed to make it to my portal room, but I was stuck once I got there. Staring at the silverfish, eyes in hand, I'm afraid that if I enter the nether and spawn underground, I'll be unable to complete the fight. It's taken me so long to get on a run that I could push this far, and I don't want it to end to something that's out of my control. So I got an idea. So I made it, at the end game with no mining fatigue, ready to set my first PB. All I had to do was wait for the dragon to perch, place the beds, and get my timing. Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen again. Wait, Mongo, why did you waste our time on a run that you didn't even finish? I mean, come on, Ocean Monument, blind travel, and I was smart enough to think of death resetting? I played that pretty well for a guy with no PB. Until the end, I guess. The real answer is because I set my PB the next day, and it was far less fun. Got a shipwreck and a buried treasure before entering a lava pool. I found a bastion with a ton of gold I was able to trade with. Found a fortress, got a blind travel again, and I was in the end by 46 minutes, where I actually beat the game. I still wish it was on the run with an ocean monument though. And even better, I did it again the next day faster than that. Overworld was a bit different with a desert temple and a village, but I had the same bastion, same blind travel, and beat the game in 48 minutes. Hey, 7 months into the grind, I finally got a PB. Now it's time to figure out how to improve it. I continued resetting seeds for many weeks after this, played through many overworlds, and got good enough to consistently enter the nether in under 10 minutes. But the runs often wouldn't progress much further than that. Sometimes because I couldn't find any structures, others because I'm bad at the game. Okay, dude. But the simple act of playing the game, even without completing runs, definitely improved my overall skill. I obviously got better at the small stuff, but I also learned some new tricks. Like this one, where I can use my F3 pie chart to find a fortress. The graph shows if you have a mob spawner rendered in, and if you lower your render distance down to where it's no longer showing and move around until it pops up again, you can tell generally what direction it's in and about how far it is. Pretty handy. But anyway, reset after reset after reset, I got better and better and better. And after a while, I got a seed. A seed that almost ended this story a few months after it began. Oh my You know, in hindsight, I'm actually glad I didn't reach my goal on this run, because there was so much luck involved. I mean, come on, spawning in a fortress, finding a bastion by random chance, and it just happens to be one of the two where I can actually find the gold. It'd have been lame if the run was just handed to me this early in the project. I want to learn more to actually earn the time. But let's talk about the real problem here. Young little SwitchBackMongo getting nervous and choking his runs. You saw it on the set seed, you saw it on the random seed, and sadly, this isn't the last time it happened. The next day, I got a couple hits away from setting a new PB, choked it. A few more weeks passed and I got down to my last blaze rods on a great pace, choked it. This one was really embarrassing too. Another couple of weeks, I'm on my way to the fortress, choked it. And a month later, I was on my best pace yet, and I choked it. If I was making these plays all the time, I would just assume that I was bad at the game. But the weird thing is that these kinds of plays only occurred when I was on a pace that could beat my PB or even get my first sub 30. It's like once I get close to finishing the nether portion of a run, I'd get extremely shaky. The heart starts racing. I start thinking, holy moly, this is it. This is what all of my work has been for. The months-long journey ends today. And the pressure of that mindset is just unbearable. It knocks your accuracy off. It makes it easy to spiral out of control after one thing goes wrong. It makes it hard to keep your thoughts straight about what you should do next. And it just makes it easy to lose. Over the span of a few months after setting my first PB, I had many runs on faster pace than it. But I only managed to complete the one that saved 3 minutes. And once I came to the conclusion that my nerves were the biggest thing holding me back, I refocused my training. I needed to make every part of the run so easy to do, get to know them like the back of my hand so that when I needed to pull them off in a real run, I could do it without thinking. So here's all the specific parts I practiced. First, gathering context, and by that I mean as soon as I load into a world, quickly figuring out where I'm going. There's only a few things I do. I look to see if there's a shipwreck, and I look to see if there's a village. I look for both visually, but I also pull up my pie chart to see if I have any rendered in bell or workstations, because that means I have a village somewhere, I just can't see it. If I don't have any of those, I want to reset to another seed. So the faster I can check, the faster I can actually find a world I want to play. And if I do see any of those, the next thing I need to practice is getting my overworld materials. Shipwrecks are pretty easy because all I'm really after is the iron. Villages, however, I had to practice getting beds, iron, and food as fast as possible. And really, all of that is just movement. Like not getting stuck on doors here. In the nether, there were only 2 things I focused my practice on. The first was just getting faster at finding a fortress with the pie chart, the strategy I explained earlier. But I also practiced finding bastions because that's the best place to get and trade gold for my ender pearls. And that all can be done with the debug screen. This strategy I think was made out to be a bit more complex than it needed to be. A lot of tutorials told me I needed to look at all of these numbers and do a bunch of math in order to figure out where the bastion is. But I've dumbed it down for myself over the course of this project, and my method works almost just as well. Instead of looking at all of these numbers, I only look at this number here. This is the number of entities you have loaded in within your field of view. Most of the time, it's gonna say anything from 0 to 50 or so, but if I see it jump up to 70 or higher, I know there could be a bastion in the direction I'm facing. And if I can zoom in and still get 20 entities on my screen, 9 times out of 10, I can find a bastion in that direction. Back in the overworld, there were only 2 more things I worked on to complete a run: finding the stronghold and navigating it. To find the stronghold, I'd try a strategy called triangulation, though my method wasn't that great. After exiting the nether, I'd throw my first eye just to see where it would go. I'd run in that direction but move slightly to the right or left before throwing my second eye. Hopefully, I'd see that it'd point in a different direction than my first one. And if it did, I'd try to find where those 2 throws would have intersected, hoping that it would put me right on top of the stronghold. Sometimes I'd have to hunt around a bit more, but generally the strategy would get me pretty close. As far as navigating the strongholds to find the portal room, I honestly just winged it. I'd load up random worlds and teleport to the stronghold and just practice finding the portal rooms without dying. It's as simple as that. And along with all of this, I practiced my parkour skills too, because moving quickly is the one thing you have to do throughout the entire run. I'd just download a ton of fun maps and run to get better at running, I guess. So, after spending a few days to focus my practice in all these specific areas, I was ready to put it all together and complete a good run. Yep, immediately after a more focused practice, I came back and scored a time within a minute of my goal. And it's a run where I effectively used about every strategy I practiced independently, but it was also far from perfect. I started with establishing my context. I had a ruined portal and a village, both of which I looted quickly. I got gold pants from the portal, which means I wouldn't need to craft my own gold armor to avoid piglins. That's a time save. After looting, I found lava and entered the nether, where I immediately saw a bastion. But I made a huge mistake. Instead of going straight for my trades, I mined freaking gold ore. I completely forgot I was already wearing the gold pants, and I thought I had to craft my own boots before going for it. And that added a minute and 40 seconds to my time. But it looks like I noticed right away how much of an idiot I am. You freaking dumb guy. Anyway, I hunted down my gold and got my trades done, and after looking at the clock, I was stricken with the usual panic that hits me at this point in the run. And for a minute, it took over my focus just as it has many times before. I was frantically bolting around at random, just praying to see a fortress. But I couldn't find one out in the open like I'd want, and I thought this was gonna have to be the end of my run. But then I remembered how to handle this. My pie chart got me where I needed to go, and I finished the nether without a hitch. I triangulated the stronghold, and as I began to see the time slip through my fingertips, I powered on anyway and completed my fastest run at 31:02. Now, if you did your math on that, you know that this should have been my first ever sub 30. If I had just remembered that I had these gold pants on, you stupid idiot, I would have been done here. But I can't solely blame that decision for my failure. There's a ton of things that I could have done better on the run. I wasted my time looking for lava because I forgot that I had some at the ruined portal. Obviously, remembering how to find a fortress right away would have paid off. And knowing how to properly loot a bastion could have saved a ton of time. And a lot of this is just skill that comes with time and practice. I recognize that. So I kept pushing, and as I did, I saw my average time slowly decrease over the months that followed. But the runs that I actually completed were still few and far between, which means I rarely got to practice keeping my cool on my good paces. So I asked myself, how could I prepare for this? I can't keep resetting for good seeds for months on end and not expect to choke when one comes around. Completing every seed isn't the answer because most of them will be slow, lessening the pressure I have to feel. And picking set seeds won't help either because that eliminates the decision-making process I obviously need to get good at. Like, I'll already know where everything is on the set seeds. If only there was some way I could keep rolling random seeds, but guarantee that they'd all be good and completable. That would just be the perfect way to go. What's this? What is he sending me? Wait, is this one of those filtering bots? This thing Looney sent me was a massive game changer for speedrun practice, exactly what I asked for. It just constantly feeds you seeds that are all really good, but not so good that they're unrealistic to ever get randomly. Really, all the bot does is search hundreds or thousands of seeds at a time, and it picks the ones that meet a certain criteria. They have to have a village or a shipwreck near spawn, a ruined portal that has iron in the chest and lava to enter the nether, a nearby fortress and a nearby bastion, and an ocean exposed stronghold back in the overworld. So with this tool, I can practice playing full speedruns on good seeds that I still have never seen before. But obviously, since they're all guaranteed to have certain things, it doesn't fall into the random seed category. It actually has its own. Category, I was able to pull off my first sub 30 time, and not just once, but many times. I practiced doing it to the point where a sub 30 felt normal, so that when I get on that pace on a random seed, I'll be more comfortable to actually complete the run. After a few weeks of using this bot, I felt like I was ready to make my final push with loading the random seeds. But there was one more thing I thought I should practice before doing that. Something that I had been neglecting for far too long. Bastions. Probably the most important thing in a Minecraft speedrun. These things can make or break any speedrun at this point in my progress. I always want to try to find one because they're probably the most effective way to get gold and piglin trades. And they also have chests with important items in them like obsidian and string. But they're sort of the high risk, high reward route to take. Sometimes I can get through them with ease, other times they stop me dead in my tracks. And that's because not all bastions are the same. There's actually 4 different types, and they each have different amounts of gold in different places, and it's crucial to know where to find it and how to gather as many piglins as possible to trade quickly. But in order to pull that off, you have to learn to identify the types first. Bridge has this big open bridge, duh. Treasure has these big lava pools. Housing has this nether wart farm at the bottom of it. And Stables looks like a really bad parkour course in the front. At least that's how I identify it. And they do all vary in difficulty level. Bridge is really easy. I mean, all the gold is sitting right here on this chalice. But the Stables bastion is really tough. Sometimes the gold doesn't even generate in this one. But I practiced them all equally. There's some really great tutorials out there that made it very easy for me. I'll link some of my favorites in the description if you wanted to learn them. And while I don't think I got to the point where I could handle these perfectly, I thought I could handle them all well enough to get my first sub 30. So, it was back to the random seed grind. For the last time. It's July of 2022, a year and a half since I attempted my first speedrun. And for the first time, I feel like I'm truly well equipped to complete my goal. I went from having no clue of what to do in the overworld to knowing every single item I need to obtain and how to get it. Went from relying on random chance in the nether to using strategies to tip the odds in my favor. From slowly wearing the dragon down to only giving it a few seconds to live. And the weird part is, I feel like I'm still scratching the surface as far as strategies go. Since this project took about 2 years to make, there's been an enormous amount of new discoveries that I could learn. But I, and nobody else, really needs to know everything to be good. It's subjective. One of the most inspiring displays of skill that I had the opportunity to see in the speedrunning communities I worked on this was a world record set by the one and only Illumina. He managed to score a time of 13 minutes and 53 seconds without using F3. He found a village without having to use his pie chart, found a bastion without needing to see the entity count, no pie chart for the fortress, no coordinates to blind travel, and not even a hitbox to one cycle the dragon. But why didn't he use these tools? Because he didn't feel like it. Speedrunning isn't always about doing all that you can to be the best out of everyone. Though he did set a world record here, so he still was for a bit. But it's about pushing yourself to do your best in the manner of your choosing. And for me personally, I feel like I learned all that I had to achieve my goal at my skill level. Now, I just have to actually do it. Right where I died. Are you if I just kept running straight, I would have been right there. Are you serious? God, dude. What? That was so scuffed, man. Oh my god. Yes. I can't express how happy I am to finally be able to make this video, but more so, I'm excited about how much there is left to do. I started this project thinking that getting this far would have been the end of the line for me, but that was 2 years ago. And now that I'm here, I know that I can do better. In fact, I already have. Twice, actually. I think that if there's one thing I'd want you to take away from this video is that if there's something that you want to do, just do it. Corny advice, right? But really, if you think it'll be a waste of time or it's not worth the effort, you're wrong. I just spent 2 years to earn what is now 1,790th place, and I feel great. So I hope that you can find the value in working on your goals just the same, whatever it may be. I'll have my 3 sub 30 runs in the description if you want to see them, and I'm gonna come back with a part 2 as soon as I can get a sub 20. God, I hope it doesn't take 2 more years.